Let's make a budget and a debt payoff plan for a 26-year-old from New York with $25,000 in credit card debt. This spreadsheet is available at the top of my page if you want to crunch your own numbers. But today we'll be working with the numbers of a 26-year-old paramedic from New York who brings home $4,000 a month. After their expenses and minimum payments on their debts are subtracted, they're negative $128 every single month. Here is a really quick overview of their monthly expenses. And then for their debt, they have 4 credit cards and some buy now, pay later debt, and the minimum payments for their debts per month total $985. I always recommend going into the spending log and keeping track of every single time you spend money, but it's especially important when you're in the negative every month to make sure that you really know where every dollar is going. So when you're in the negative every month, really your only choices are to increase your income, decrease your expenses, or both. In this situation, I don't really feel like there is a ton of non-essential expenses listed here. I think it goes without saying that this car and car insurance is definitely out of the comfortable budget range that I would generally recommend. I usually prefer your car and your car insurance to be no more than 10% of your take-home pay. They're at $1,100 a month between their car and car insurance. That doesn't even account for gas or maintenance or anything like that. So this is definitely a very, very expensive car that's eating up a lot of their monthly budget. However, it doesn't always make sense to sell your car. And in this situation, once these debts are taken care of, the budget will feel a whole lot less tight. So if keeping the car is what they'd like to do, then they really need to look at increasing their income in order to create some margin here for paying down debt. Over in their debt calculator here, they do have $25,000 in credit card debt. This is the order that I would have them pay them off in. If they just made the minimum payments, it would take until May of 2026 to pay these off, but that is keeping in mind the fact that these 3 cards here are 0 interest until August, and then interest will kick in. So it's actually going to be quite a bit longer than this once interest is being charged again. This is another reason to prioritize paying these off as quickly as possible, because once that interest hits, it's going to be more difficult to get ahead as well. So they have $5,000 in high yield savings, so I definitely don't want to take all of that, but I would like to take $1,000 right in the beginning, would leave them with $4,000 in high yield savings, which is about a month of expenses for them. So that would jumpstart this whole process. And then if they could pick up overtime or extra side jobs and find an extra $500 a month to put towards debt, that would have everything paid off in 17 months. Again, keeping in mind the fact that these are 0 interest cards, so it will probably be slightly longer than that. If $500 is too much and they could only do $250, that would have everything paid off in 20 months, which I think is still very reasonable. So they'll pay minimum payments on everything, but put the extra $500 just onto the first card. Once one is paid off, instead of taking that original payment and adding it back into your budget, you're going to roll it into the next one. And then you just keep rolling these payments together until everything is paid off. But in general, I think with a little bit of an increased margin, they'll be able to have these paid off in a little under 2 years.